The Seattle Kraken defeat the Carolina Hurricanes in a thrilling, heart-pounding, big win, and we're going to talk about it next, coming up on Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Zaiem alongside Glenn Dreyfuss, and we're with Davy Jones' Locker Room, where we do print coverage of the Seattle Torrent and Seattle Kraken, and welcome to Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Last night, the Kraken defeated the Hurricanes by a score of 2-1. Kaapo Kakko, Ben Meyers both scoring goals, 35 saves for number 35, Joey Daccord. This was not an expected win. Carolina was second in the league in points. They're the #1 team in the Eastern Conference. And before we talk about what happened in this game, it's really important to talk about what kind of team Carolina is, because they are a unique team. There's no other team that plays like them. What Carolina wants to do is they want to establish a forecheck. They have a shoot from everywhere philosophy. So if you see the Oilers or the Blues famously a few years ago, they would pass up a good shot for a great shot. This is not what the Hurricanes want to do. They want to take as many shots as possible, spam them for everywhere. And the reason why they do this is because they're not shooting necessarily hoping that it'll go in. They want a rebound. They want traffic in front of the net, and they want to cause chaos. They spam the net with shots. If their goal song should be LMFAO's Shots, not the PD Pablo song. Shots, everybody. That song, that is the song. Literally every time I think about the Hurricanes, I think about that song. Every year when they play in Seattle, afterwards I think, I should have let the DJ side know to play that song, or to let Benny Drawbars work that into the organization, because that is what the Hurricanes do. They want to cause chaos. They want to either have a rebound. You could force a defensive zone faceoff and win out the faceoff there. The counter to that is a good goalie that can control rebounds. Joey Daccord ends up starting, not Philip Grubauer, even though Daccord was the de facto backup given Grubauer's play, and Grubauer was getting the majority of starts. In this case, it was Joey, and I think that is partially because, number one, he's very good with rebound control, and that is a excellent counter strategy to what Carolina wants to do. The second is Joey is the best puck handling goalie in the NHL, and that is the other way to counter an aggressive forecheck. Carolina, they want to dump the puck in. They want to generate chances off the cycle. They don't really generate that much off the rush. They're a cycle team, and a good puck handling goalie is a counter to that. There's a reason why there is a trapezoid behind the net, which restricts the goalies from playing the puck in the corners, because that strategy is so powerful that before that trapezoid was introduced, a goalie could just go in the corner and then completely invalidate the forecheck. It made for really boring offensive hockey. So that's the Carolina team. There's no other team like it. They have the most shots of anybody since the Kraken entered the league in 2021. It's not close under Rod Brindamore. This is what they do. Glenn, what did you see?
Well, the other thing about Carolina's style of play is they're good at it.
They're very good at it.
They came into this game 8-0-2 in their last 10 games, and they had a 12-game point streak. They hadn't been beaten in regulation in their last 12 games. And to your point, the shots on goal for this game were 36-15 Carolina. Not unexpected, but part of that point is not only do they rack up large shots on goal totals, they also keep their opponents' shot totals down. That's not just in terms of the shots on goal, but total shots attempted. Tonight, Carolina attempted 83 shots to the Kraken's 31. 83 shot attempts. And the Kraken had 2 shots on goal in the third period. Both of them came within a 5-second span. And one of them was just a flip that goalie Frederick Anderson swaddled up easily. Ellie Tolvanen really had the only legitimate shot on goal of the period. But as the Canes captain, Jordan Stahl, said afterward, they hunkered down pretty good. And they did, because I didn't really feel like the Kraken were turtling in that third period. In fact, Carolina, of the 3 periods, they had the fewest shots in the third period, 9 shots on goal. And let me pose this question to you, Zaiem. A few days ago, you quite correctly pointed out that hits, if you're racking up hits, it's because you don't have puck possession. But I wonder if against the Canes, that might be the exception to the rule, where they're so talented, they're going to have puck possession, so you better punish them when they do have puck possession. The Kraken had 31 hits on the night, 11 of them by Jamie Alexiak and 7 by Jacob Melanson. And maybe that took a toll, because it didn't feel like it was an all-out barrage and that the Kraken were hanging on by their fingernails.
I think there might be something there. You play against Carolina in a way that you play against no other team, because Carolina plays hockey in such a different way than every other team plays. So if you are going into this game knowing you are the less talented team, which I'm not saying that as a disparagement of the Kraken, the Hurricanes are just an excellent roster. They are a Stanley Cup contender. They're one of the 2 or 3 teams that I would be unsurprised to see lifting the cup at the end of the year. The Kraken are not that. So now they're playing against one of the best teams, and they have to have some strategy to counter what Carolina is doing, because if you just show up, you line up, you play your normal game of hockey, you're probably going to lose. And I think we've seen that under Dan Bylsma and under Dave Hackstall, where they just run out the team as is. But Lane Lambert is so detail-oriented and he's so matchup focused. He is willing to go in, make the adjustments, make specific matchup strategy decisions in a way that a lot of coaches don't. Some coaches don't play matchups. Lane Lambert, very much so, very detail-oriented.
Here's what else the Kraken did excellently, knowing they were going to have 83 shot attempts against. They had 23 blocks. People were selling out on the Kraken to get in the way of shots. The block shot leaders, Ellie Tolvanen and defenseman Cale Fleury, they had 4 blocks each. That was a total team effort. That's why of 83 shot attempts, there were only 36 that made it through to Joey Daccord. And as you pointed out, when they did make it through, he was stopping those shots. And as you pointed out, he was also freezing the puck. He was slowing the game down. He wasn't letting it become a frantic game. And one other point, the Hurricanes are very aggressive in terms of their forecheck. And in the second period, it came back to bite them. They had 4 players in deep. The puck comes out. Capo Caco has a 2-on-1 with Berkeley Catton. He was intending to pass the Catton, but when the pass was taken away, he called his own number and he scored the first goal of the game. And in a 1-goal game, that was big. So the Kraken also utilized their defense to offense strategy, and it paid dividends.
Also worth noting that of the 10 million shots that the Hurricanes took, a lot of them were from the outside. At the end of the second period, the Hurricanes had twice as many shots as the Kraken, but the Kraken had twice as much expected goal share generated, because they're just hitting shots from everywhere, the point, and they're just far away, and Joey can make all these easy saves. So it was really emblematic of what the Hurricanes want to do. Well, coming up next, we're going to hear from the players about this game and how they approached their strategy against such a unique and difficult and challenging team. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open when the pressure's on and you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves on Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. You've done rooftops and you've chased every happy hour, but how about one that's literally above it all? After 4 p.m., the Space Needles Pint and a Pie takes happy hour sky high, and just for $35 per person, you get entry, your choice of a sweet or savory tip-top pie, and a pint of beer, wine, or a non-alcoholic drink. Whether you're pre-gaming for the Kraken, warming up for Climate Pledge, or just here for the views, this is your night on another level. Pint and a Pie. Limited time offer, 21 plus only, minimum to purchase. Tickets at spaceneedle.com. Join the Everydayer Club for ad-free audio, access to our group chat on Discord, and more. Use code DEADLINE ahead of the trade deadline for 1 month free. Join now at lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer or click the link in the show notes.
Zaiem, you've heard of kids in the hall. Well, tonight for the Kraken against the Hurricanes, it was the kids in the dot. Matty Beniers won 10 of his 15 draws. Shane Wright won 3 of his 5 draws. We won't mention that it was an off night for Chandler Stevenson, who went 4 and 9 on faceoffs. But it was a good night for the kids in the dot. One other thing to point out before we hear from the Kraken. 1:29 left. Ellie Tolvanen takes a holding penalty. The Hurricanes pull their goaltender. Now it's sweaty palms time. This shooting gallery of a team now has a 6-on-4 advantage trying to tie the game. Who did Lane Lambert trust to put on the ice in that situation? On defense, Jamie Alexiak and Adam Larson played the entire 1 minute, 29 seconds. One of the forwards also played the full 129. That was Freddie Gaudreau. The other fourth Kraken on the ice, that was split up about 45 seconds each. Chandler Stevenson and this was a surprise to me when I look back at it, Ben Myers. So how's that for trust, Ben Myers? And he talked after the game about how the coaching staff had the team well prepared to face the powerful Canes.
Our coaching staff, brought it up this morning. They try to frustrate teams. That's kind of their MO. And, it was talked about from our staff. And, We played them once already this year, and they've been playing like that for a long time. So, most guys have seen it and played against it. So we just stuck to our structure like really well throughout the entire game, and especially at the end there, and obviously had some great goaltending too.
Now, Joey Daccord is not only an excellent goaltender, but when he retires, and I hope that's 20 years from now, he is going to make an excellent TV hockey analyst because he understands the game. Maybe part of that is because he's got a dad who's a goalie coach, but he does such a good job of explaining his position. And one of the answers that he gave, Joey Daccord, professor, classes in session, an excellent answer to an excellent question from our own Zaiem Beg.
What's your mentality facing a team that takes so many shots, preparing for them, versus facing a team that is not necessarily known for taking as many shots on goal?
I think the thought process is just knowing it's coming, right? I think that helps, and just being prepared for it, right? I just try to execute my game plan. It's a little bit different because they still have guys that can make plays. So you're kind of ready for a shot, but then they'll try a seam play or a backdoor play, and so you just try to stick to your structure, play your game, and I think a big thing with playing a shot volume team is just controlling your rebounds. Because they're going to try to just get pucks in the net and create chaos in front of the net. So if I can suck pucks up, get a lot of whistles, put pucks in the corner, that helps our D out a lot in terms of just killing their motion in the offensive zone and resetting the play with a D zone draw. Well, it goes one of two ways with a shot volume team. If they score a couple early, then it's tough because there's just a million shots coming at you, and you're kind of fighting it a little bit. But when you get a shot volume team and you make some saves early, then it helps you get into a rhythm really quickly. And I felt solid right from the start. It was just a good game. I mean, the team played so well. They had a lot of shots, but they probably didn't have a ton of chances, like high danger chances. So the boys did unreal. I mean, there were so many different blocks and sticks and great plays. The 6-on-4 kill was huge, and I barely did anything. So the guys were awesome.
What can you say about Jamie Alexiak's play in front of you tonight?
Yeah, he's outstanding. I mean, he's just such a beast. Like, he's an absolute beast. He's a warrior. Blocking shots. I thought he had a great stick tonight, made so many good plays, and then obviously just burying guys too. So the fans were supporting him tonight a little extra, which was great. I love to see that.
So describe the last minute and a half from your perspective.
Just trying to get air in my lungs. It's tough, but the guys did such a good job, honestly. The hardest thing with 6-on-4 is now that when they have that two extra guys, is it's really hard to see the puck because they basically just take an extra player and put them right in front of me. So I basically can't see anything. So I need a lot of help from the guys, and they were outstanding tonight. Especially on that kill at the end.
I liked that he identified the Hurricanes as a shot volume team. It's what we were talking about. It's the thing that sometimes when I get focused on a team and I think, am I really indexing too much on this and I'm making too much out of this? But no, we heard it from Bun Myers. We heard it from Joey Daccord. The Hurricanes are a unique team that require a unique strategy to counter.
And what's hard to believe is that this is the same Kraken team that lost last week 2 games in Dallas and St. Louis by a combined 9-2 score, looked listless. St. Louis is a bottom-feeding team, 31 or 32 in the league, and there's only 32 teams in the league, and they lost to St. Louis last week, and it wasn't close. This week, they're beating a Stanley Cup contender favorite 2-1, holding a 1-goal lead for the last 22 minutes of the game. Is this the same team? It's quite the roller coaster, and I asked Coach Lane Lambert about that.
Coach, I was hoping you could speak to the psychology of a long NHL season. A week ago, your team's losing to St. Louis, wondering how everything could have gone wrong. Tonight, you're playing excellently, playing your system, beating the second-best team in the league.
Yeah, it's a long season. Everybody knows that. Everybody in that room has gone through long seasons, whether they be first-year guys like Berkeley Catton, who's played in, junior, or, guys that have played in the American Hockey League. It is what it is. It's a long season, and you can't get too high on the highs and too low on the lows. Things change pretty fastly both ways. They change quickly. So, you just have to. I didn't. The first two games back from the break, we didn't play very well. I thought that we just didn't have our legs, and certainly not our execution. And I think I said it the other night, league-wide, I think you're seeing better execution out of every team, and the games are getting better. So I think we're in line with that. And obviously tonight we knew our opponent, we knew how we had to beat them. We did what we had to do.
I love Lane Lambert's increasing comfort with the Seattle media as it goes on. His answers getting a little bit more detailed, a little bit more informative. I think it's starting to settle in that we are not the New York media. We're not the Toronto media. We're just the pillowy, soft Seattle media that's not going to ask anybody any really dumb or toxic or pointed questions that are designed to make anybody look bad. We just want to get the information out, and we want to ask it in the most informative but respectful way possible. I love that. Coming up next, we are going to look at the roster as we head towards the trade deadline this Friday. The Kraken are making moves, little minor moves. Are they setting up for something big? We're going to find out next. Glenn, we have a bit of a roster glut. Even after the Kraken lost Ty Cartier to waivers, they still have too many forwards. Ryan Winterton, who was signed to an extension just a few days ago, was rewarded with being a healthy scratch the last two games. Yanni Newman, who is too good for the AHL, is languishing, or rather melting down the AHL. He should be on an NHL roster. He should be on the Kraken roster, but there is no room. Now, the Kraken did make a couple of roster moves, which we will talk about, and then we can talk about the context of where this team is headed as we go into the deadline this Friday.
One of those signings was Ryden Evers signing a 3-year entry-level contract. He's a big boy already at age 20, 6'4", 192 pounds, and playing for the Pentagon Vs of the Western Hockey League. He's been scoring at quite a pace, 60 points, 36 assists. He's got some offensive upside, but Zaiem, I am vehemently opposed to this signing. I am violently opposed to this signing. Now, it's not because I have anything personal against Ryden Evers. I don't know Ryden Evers. He probably buys Girl Scout cookies when they come to the door. He helps little old ladies across the street. But I know Kraken TV announcer John Forsland. I like Kraken TV announcer John Forsland. I know Kraken radio announcer Everett Fitzhugh. I like Kraken radio announcer Everett Fitzhugh. And I don't want to live in a world where Ryden Evers comes up and plays at the same time as Riker Evans, because there is no human way possible to keep Ryden Evers and Riker Evans straight on the same team.
Pour one out for our Vancouver broadcast friends who have to deal with Elias Pettersson and Elias Pettersson, who spell their names exactly the same. One's a forward and one's a defenseman.
Maybe not for very much longer.
Well, yeah, that's true, which maybe might be to the dismay of Canucks fans, but to the joy of Canucks broadcasters. Ryden Evers when I saw that, the first time I saw his name, I thought it was a typo for Riker Evans. I'm sure everybody did. But regardless, that is one of the two deals that they signed. Now, the other one is Gustav Olsson. He was signed to a one-year deal. It allows him to play in the NHL, but they do need to have him clear waivers if they want him to play in the AHL. So that's what they did, is they signed him. He's a defenseman, not a forward. And then they put him on waivers. He will very likely clear. He's a 30-year-old defenseman and is an AHL tweener. Ty Cartier, I did not think was going to clear waivers, but Olofsson, I think, will.
In the press release, Jason Botterill, the Kraken general manager, his comment was, "We're happy to have Gustav under contract with our team." Well, hold down that effusive praise, would you, Jason?
Now, with all of that said, we have the trade deadline coming up this Friday, and there are always rumors that are swirling around players around the trade deadline. We've heard Shane Wright in many different rumors, maybe for Jordan Kyrou, but Jordan Kyrou has a no trade clause, so we don't know if he would even come here. But the wins that we are picking up from the insiders are that the Kraken are not looking to be sellers at the trade deadline. They are currently fighting for a playoff spot. They're currently in the mix for a playoff spot, and selling off their upcoming free agents does not appear to be in the team's plans. Rather, if they do anything, if they make a big move, it would probably be of the buyer kind, picking up an elite scorer. They tried to get Artemi Panarin. That didn't work. They offered him $14 million a year, and he decided he was going to take less money to play in Los Angeles. But the Kraken do seem to be big game hunting. I don't know if this trade deadline is going to be the time they do that. I think it's more likely it happens during the offseason, but we should be hyper vigilant around if there are any big names that have come available, especially if it's a scoring winger. The Kraken are probably interested. They're probably sniffing around. They have 2 first-round draft picks this year, and they don't have enough roster spots. So that's something that you can use as ammunition in part of a trade. If the Kraken want to get a Yanni Newman on the roster, they want to be playing Ryan Winterton, who's a very valuable NHL player, instead of healthy scratching him, they're going to have to move a couple of players. And I wonder if that's going to be part of a package for a bigger name coming back.
Well, if you don't trade away any of the pending free agents, which are Jamie Alexiak, who we talked about, and 3 forwards, Ellie Tolvanen, Jaden Schwartz, and Jordan Eberle, it sets up a fascinating offseason, because if you roll the dice to make the playoffs this year, you have those 4. Do you sign them? If you want to sign them, can you sign them? And if you do, you're keeping the logjam, Zaiem, that you talked about. Now, in the offseason, if it's possible, there is one player that I could see the Kraken moving, and that is goalie Philip Grubauer. He has 1 year left on a $5.9 million a year contract. Before this season, that wasn't a possibility because who would want him? He's going to be 35, and he hadn't had a save percentage above 900. Well, he has had an incredible bounce back season. For his next stop, maybe he has played well enough to draw interest as a backup at another team. Maybe the Kraken can get something for him instead of having him on the roster at almost $6 million a year. Something to think about if you're looking to free some cap space.
Trade deadline is always exciting and always a little stressful because you never know who is going to get traded, but also you never know who might be coming back. But we will be back tomorrow to talk more Kraken hockey. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Kraken. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Kraken so you get all the latest episodes. You can find us on social media at Davy Jones LR on all social media platforms or at DavyJonesLockerRoom.com, where we do print coverage of the Seattle Torrent and the Seattle Kraken. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Kraken ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure this is one of your 2 daily listens. For Davy Jones Locker Room, I'm Zaiem Begg.
And I'm Glenn Dreyfuss.
And we'll see you tomorrow.